a lot of the bad stuff about people is that we're frustrated, we're enraged, and monkeys, if you've ever kept monkeys or had them, all of the monkey tribe has immense rage right under the surface. I mean, my God, if you cross a monkey, they'll never forgive you. It's a lifetime insult, you know. The tiniest thing. I mean, I had a monkey once, and I don't know what he was doing, about to shit on the floor or something, and I just moved toward him fast and moved him. And, you know, it was 6 weeks of politicking and special little gifts before he wouldn't scream and cover his face and run every time I got near. And the whole tribe is very highly strung. And so we feel great rage. I mean, why do there have to be poor people? Why do there have to be generals and slaves and all of this? It's because we can't make our societies work right. Now, people might say, well, the reason we can't make them work right is because they have stupid ideologies behind them, Marxism or capitalism or some other dogma that has all the answers. But I don't really think that's true. I think that the major social theories in circulation today, socialism, Marxism, capitalist, industrial democracy, probably all would work if they were operating in the absence of two things, each other and gravity. And it's that, you know, the constraint for space, the limitation of resources, and then just the constraints that atmosphere, gravity, and wind impose on our civilization. We can't do what we want to do. What we want to do is be angels and go to the stars and create comfortable, human, well-lit environments for everybody. But I don't think it can be done on the planet. And this is the major transition that's taking place. I really believe that everything is all right, and that the worst things go to some good end, and that it's fine for these hunting and gathering peoples to live in the primeval forest and take hallucinogens and contemplate eternity. But somewhere back around Sumner or Ur, forces were set in motion from which there's no turning back. Probably the invention of writing and the compacting and recording of experience that allowed bigger plans to be hatched than merely more monkey meat on the next hunt. And this created, a 15,000 year, 5,000 year, depends on where you put the starting point, dash across a burning bridge, like the burning bridge of Lancelot, a bridge that need only last long enough for you to traverse it. And that's what history is. It's a biological process that occupies no more than a microsecond of geological time. It's like the gestation of a species. From the point of view of geological time, the acquisition of language is followed by the acquisition of star flight. Nothing else can be seen in between because it's so squeezed together in time. And yet we're living out the moment between language and star flight, the 15, 20,000 year moment. And it is crazy because to have star flight, you must understand things that can destroy you completely. And here we have, screwball religions, political systems, the monkey hindbrain, all of these things. It's like H.G. Wells said, it's a race between education and disaster. But the goal is visible and happening in our lifetimes. The narrowest evolutionary selective neck that man has gone through in 20,000 years is right now. And it's the people who get to space who will survive and who will leave behind the lethal political and social processes on the surface of the planet, which we all hope straighten out and fly right. But the fate of the species cannot be tied to the solving of the legacy of 5,000 years of political wrong management, Some portion of humanity has to be freed from the load, and again, the metaphor of gravity. To be freed from the load of history is to go to space. And in the next 20, 30, 40 years, this will probably become a fact. I grow less worried about it all the time, but it's the greatest change that has gone on since the acquisition of language. If we can make it through the next 50 years, probably the next 5,000 are pretty secure. Not for everybody, of course. I mean, history is littered with appalling horror, but survival of the species, I think, can be secured for a long time if we can get through the next 50 years. It's a filter. This is another thing, you know. Frontiers act as genetic filters. Remember my talking at the beginning yesterday about how plant evolution is driven by the availability of wasteland? Well, human evolution is driven by the same thing. The reason we are all so different from Europe is because all the misfits came here. The dreamers, the people who didn't fit in, the screwballs, the religious fringers, the cults, the people who didn't fit in. Space is going to be the tightest genetic filter that has ever been imposed on the human species. The smart people are going, and the genetically clean people are going. It costs too much to send everybody, and you have to fulfill a purpose. So, and this sounds fairly fascist, and may in fact be fascist on the short term, but maybe it was fascist that all the misfits of Europe should be sent to Australia and America. It will present 200 years into the future, it will present humanity with the fact of a clarified gene pool off-planet. And people like Gerard O'Neill and people like that reasonably project that the center of human population in 2050 could well be the Jovian system. In other words, that there would be more people living in and around the moons of Jupiter in 2050 than there will be living on Earth.